But welcome. So this is our information session about the Schwarzman Scholarship. So my name is Jennifer Bess. I'm Director of National Fellowships in the National Fellowships and Scholar Programs Office. If you don't know us or where we're located, we are on the Horseshoe in Desessor on the 3rd floor, and we are here to help you apply for awards like the Schwarzman and other things. So we thought that we would do this session just to kind of give a quick overview of what the Schwarzman Scholarship is about, what the application process looks like, and how we might be able to help you on that journey. The deadline is coming up pretty quickly, I will just say. So there is still time to apply this year, but also if you're trying to plan ahead for future years, that's great. Um, it's both a complicated and pretty straightforward application process, if that's in any way helpful. So let's go ahead and get started. Quick word about our office. So in our office, we have National Fellowship Advisors. This is our staff, Novella and me and Taylor and Kendall, who's also on this call, Matt and Ethan. And by coming to this session, we're going to make sure that you have access to our Blackboard organization, which is called National Fellowships Advising. We also would encourage you to meet with one of us one-on-one for advice if you're working on this or another fellowship option. And I could connect you with previous finalists because we have had 2 finalists for the Schwarzman Scholarship. So their experience can be useful to hear about sometimes. I'm going to do a quick little overview of what a national fellowship is generally. So we're talking about merit-based awards from outside the university given to students all across the world. And in this particular session, it's for graduate study across all disciplines. So there's some specific things that Schwarzman is offering, but they're not looking for a specific major. They're looking more for your interests. So welcome everyone who's sliding on in. So quick overview of the Schwarzman Scholarship. So this award offers a year or 11 months at Tsinghua University in Beijing. At the end of that 11 months, the goal is for you to earn a master's degree in global affairs. The program is entirely taught in English, although they do encourage you to take Mandarin while you're there. Mandarin is not required to do this program. Our background in Mandarin is not required. And it's a very international population of students. So about 40% of scholars are from the US, 20% are from China, and 40% from everywhere else. The application is now open. It opened back in April, which is pretty typical. And the deadline for this year is September 21st. So about 3 weeks. You can do this. You can do this in 3 weeks. It is very competitive. Last year, they picked 154 scholars out of 3,600 applications. And as I mentioned before, U of SC has had 2 finalists in the last few years. This is still a relatively new competition. It's about 5 or 6 years old now, I think. And so don't worry about that kind of track record. Schwarzman is very interested in having students from lots of different universities in the US participate in the program. They have told us that specifically. And if you look at the scholars who are chosen every year, you'll see that while there are some usual suspects in the schools that are winning, there is also a really wide range of other schools that are producing scholars. This is a very comprehensive scholarship. This offers a lot of money. It's essentially completely, fully, and almost overly funded. So they provide tuition and fees, they provide room and board, they provide for your travel, both to and from China, as well as intra-China travel, books and supplies, you get a personal stipend, and health insurance. So it really is all inclusive. There is a lot of funding involved in this. One note, the picture that's the background of this, I took myself because I have been to Schwarzman College at Tsinghua in Beijing in May of 2018. So I have seen the facilities and actually randomly met Mr. Schwarzman, who just happened to be there the day that we were visiting. And it is a pretty impressive place, I have to say, and I'm excited to talk with you all more about what they offer and what they're looking for. So this Master of Global Affairs degree, a little bit more detail about what that entails. So there are some core courses that every Schwarzman Scholar takes, and those focus on global affairs, leadership, and recent Chinese history. I think it's the last 40 to 50 years is the period they're looking at. And it includes a study of Mandarin in that first semester that you're there. No previous Mandarin is required. They welcome students with lots of experience in China or with no experience in China or somewhere in between. What they are looking for are people who have an interest in China. But they do allow you to take Mandarin classes so that you can improve your skills and get around a little bit more easily while you're in China and Beijing for the year. After you do the core courses, you have some electives that you can choose from. There is a sort of elective track that involves China-focused coursework, but then they also have other options where you can take courses on energy or technology or finance, so and other things as well. That changes a little bit every year depending on who's teaching and what's available, but they really do want to empower you to create a global affairs degree that allows you to learn and address the interests that you have in knowing more about China and global society. Um, Beyond electives, there's a capstone project that you do. Again, that's kind of created out of your own interests. So there's a lot of flexibility in that. And then they also really emphasize experiential learning. So they do an orientation for all scholars. They have programs that are called deep dives, which is you spend like a week or two traveling around China and visiting different locations and pursuing topics of interest, particular topics of interest to you, not just for everyone. And then they have the practice in global leadership lectures. So it's a big lecture series throughout the year where they're bringing in experts from all over the world, as well as right there in China, to talk about their experiences and their understanding of the role that China plays in the world in the 21st century. What I would say, having been there and talked with admissions officers and heard more from students and scholars themselves, you are earning this degree, so it is an academic program, but I think the emphasis is less on the sort of, hardcore academic study and more on developing leadership, making the network connections with your fellow scholars, with the lectures that they're bringing in, with the internships that you can have. So it really is about creating this group of scholars with a knowledge of the people who are going to be the leaders at the global level, and have a deep understanding of China. This is what Schwarzman's goal is in creating this, is to really emphasize that understanding the role and the attitudes of China is going to be very important in the world for the 21st century. So the other opportunities outside of the classes, you've got mentoring. So they will connect you, they will assign you or connect you with a mentor. Those are local or international leaders from all over, mostly based in Beijing, but not exclusively. Internships are available. They're not required, but they do facilitate those in terms of helping you find opportunities and supporting you in being able to do those and fit that into your coursework and the entire program. It is a residential college, so it is kind of all inclusive. When you go visit, I mean, Tsinghua itself is a big university. It's like the top university in China, but Schwarzman College is its own subset of that. And so you live there, you eat there, you work there. It is all encompassing. And so you do have your own private space. You have a private dorm room, but you share common space with a group of 8 others or 7 other scholars, so 8 of you total. And they really intentionally form those groups of 8 to have a diverse array of scholars from all over the world together. So you would not just be living with American students or just living with Chinese students. It's all mixed together, because really one of the major benefits of a program like this being so all-encompassing is the conversations that you have outside of the classroom as well, and just the experiences that you're sharing and the relationships that you're building with each other. They offer a speaker series throughout the year, as I mentioned, and they both create and tap you into a network of future global leaders. So it is a pretty awesome opportunity. Pause me at any time if you've got a question, by the way. So one thing people are always curious about is, what are they looking for? And they're pretty upfront about this. They have a big series of webinars that you can watch that I would recommend, and we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. But the 3 main things that they emphasize are leadership, intellect, and character. And I would say leadership is kind of the key piece that they want to know more about. They ask some specific questions about that. But underline those 3, right? So that means it's a really diverse field of study. People are coming to Schwarzman from backgrounds in political science or in business and science or the arts. It's really just, how do you connect your field and a field of study to what you want to study in this degree at Tsinghua. They want to see a demonstrated ability to lead in your chosen field. So they ask for some examples. There's room for like 10 different leadership roles in the application. And so they really are curious to see how you have shown both that you are being a leader and have the potential to continue on that pathway. They really want to see that you have this commitment to building a relationship with those of different perspectives, right? That's, again, this is what this is about. They're bringing people in from all over the world who share an interest in China, but are coming at that from a lot of different backgrounds and perspectives. So how have you demonstrated that in your activities, in your coursework, etc., that you present to them to show that commitment? They are looking for smart and creative and flexible people who are interested in the world around them, which I'm sure everyone on this phone call is, because it's not a phone call, it's a webinar, because that's why you want to learn about this, right? Because you're interested in the world around you. They are looking for people who show drive and ambition to get something done. So when you're crafting an application like this and you see that they're interested in things like leadership, intellect, and character, think for yourself about how would you define leadership? Like, what's important in your mind for a good leader? What does that look like? And then what are the ways that you have demonstrated those qualities? What kinds of experiences have you have that you can show how you develop that understanding of leadership, and how you have demonstrated that characteristic? One of the things to consider is that ability to drive change and to work together, right? What kind of difference have you made as a leader? What can you point to and say, here was a problem that I identified, here's how I addressed it, here was the outcome, right? What does that trajectory look like? That intellectual ability is not just about within the classroom, so you don't have to be a 4.0 student to be a good Schwarzman scholar, but they are interested in how your mind works and how you think and how you solve problems and how you design solutions to complex problems. That's something that they specifically mention. And because they're focusing on character, they want leaders who are driven by values, right? What do you value? How does that push you forward in the leadership roles that you are pursuing, and the kind of person that you want to be, and the kind of difference that you want to make in your career in the world? And ultimately, what they're looking for is authenticity, right? They want you to be you, and they want to get a sense of that in the application. So they're not looking for you to be what you think they want to see. They want to actually know who you are. And one of the reasons that they've put together the application the way that they have is so that they can try and dig out more ways to understand you and see that authenticity shine through. What is the application itself? What does it look like? So they really emphasize that they do a holistic review of the application. So no one piece in here is more important than another. It is, they look at the entirety of it when they're evaluating you. So there's some short answers that kind of start with this 100-word biography, and that's something that you want to craft kind of carefully, because that is what they use on the website if you win. No pressure when you're writing that. And so they describe that as a polished synopsis of accomplishments. One thing I will say is, please read all the details on their application materials when you create an account and get yourself into the application online, because they give a lot of detail in terms of how to do this. Both this and all the other questions. So a short 100-word biography, that will go fast. 100 words is not very much. Then there's a leadership essay that's 750 words. So they want to know in that question, who are you as a leader and what kind of impact are you hoping to make on the world, right? What are you thinking about? The statement of purpose, which is 500 words, is sort of, why do you want to be a Schwarzman scholar? Why do you want to earn a graduate degree in global affairs? Why do you want to spend a year at Beijing? So it's kind of a big essay, but only 500 words, but that's kind of the all-encompassing, why is this the thing for you? Why are you going to be a good fit? How will this help you in the future? How will you utilize it to be a productive member of society? They want a resume or CV that is no more than 2 pages with a real focus that highlights the leadership experiences that you've had. They want 3 letters of recommendation. Because this is an award for earning a graduate degree, you definitely want at least 1, and I would say probably 2 of those letters to be from faculty who have taught you. But also, because they're emphasizing leadership so much, it's fine for at least 1 and possibly 2 of those letters to be about your leadership experiences. So those kinds of letters can typically be maybe from a supervisor or a mentor, someone who has who can confirm the kind of leadership experiences that you're talking about, but may not have directly seen you as a leader in that role, depending on what it was. So that's a conversation that we have a lot with students, is to how to figure out who the best person is to ask for a letter of recommendation. So if anyone here is thinking of applying this year, I would encourage you to come chat with us, especially about this, but we also are happy to review drafts of all of these essays. They also want a copy of all academic transcripts. So that means your USC transcript, of course, if you've ever done work, if you did study abroad, or if you had you took courses during the summer someplace else, they want to see all of those transcripts. If you've got questions about how to order transcripts, just let me know. We can help with that too. And then this is a really interesting piece of it, is that they have a 1-minute video that they ask for. So I will tell you that this is technically optional, but it is really, really strongly encouraged, to the point where if you can't do the 1-minute video, they kind of want to know why, like what was the barrier to doing that. 1 minute is both a long time and not a long time. And the reason that they say this, they want to see you, like they want to get a sense of you that's beyond just what's on the paper. And so you can be creative in what you put in that 1-minute video and share with them. And so remember, because it's both a holistic review and they're trying to get to know who you are as an authentic person, they see this as an opportunity for you to give them more than what they might just read in an application. Happy to talk through that. There's no required format for that in terms of what you have to put in it, or what you have to be filming, or where you need to be, or what you need to be doing. So we can help you be creative. Any questions about the application pieces? I know I'm running through this really fast. So Schwarzman is offering a variety. They have a great selection of online resources. They have a YouTube channel that they post webinars to, and I wanted to flag for you 2 really useful upcoming workshops that they are offering. So they're having an application walkthrough both on September 2nd, which is Thursday, and a walkthrough on the 14th, which seems a little late to me since it's 1 week before the deadline, but if you missed the first one, you can get that one. And then they also have a session that's advice from the admissions team that's on September the 10th. And I would encourage you to attend any of those. We can share that link in the follow-up email to this session. And their YouTube page also has recordings of past discussions, which I would encourage you to take a look at, because they have a lot of interviews with scholars, with the admissions team. They detail out more about what they're looking for. So take advantage of all the resources, because one of the most important things about national fellowships is the fit, right? So you want to make sure both that this is the right opportunity for you, and that you put yourself forward in the application in a way that shows that this is the right opportunity for you, right? So gather all the information you can about what they're looking for, who their current scholars are, what kind of opportunities that they offer, and then put it together in an application for them, and then sit back and relax. The current application cycle is for graduating seniors. Not only you could be an alum, like you could have already graduated, but if you're a freshman, sophomore, or junior, you need to wait, because you have to have your bachelor's degree by the time you would go to China. So currently we're talking graduating seniors or alumni, or I guess current grad students too, but thanks for asking that question. Things I should have put on the PowerPoint. And yes, I totally would encourage anyone who's not a senior who's thinking about applying for this in the future to come talk with us, because there might be other fellowships that might be a good fit for preparing you for this, but also we can just help you strategize about how to make sure you are well positioned for applying for Schwarzman. So best next steps in general. I will pause and answer more questions. Thank you all for asking questions, and thank you all for being here. So there are some people who apply for this a few years out of college. You don't have to be a graduate student. You have to be between the ages of 18 and 28, and you have to have a bachelor's degree by the time that you go. But those are kind of the basic requirements in terms of timing. So there is a mixture in the class of people who are coming straight out of undergrad versus those who've had a few years of post-college experience. And I've not heard from Schwarzman that they have a preference either way for that. So it really, I think, has more to do with you thinking about the timing in your own life, and when would be the best time to do this. So best next steps, check out the website and their videos, make an appointment to talk with us. We take attendance at these meetings, and I will send a follow-up email to y'all that has some links to our office and how to make an appointment. But we do National Fellowship advising appointments through Navigate. And we would be happy to talk with anyone, especially if you are applying this year. Come see us sooner rather than later. Courtney, yes, you can apply multiple times. I think they have a section that talks about reapplication that even addresses, if you were not successful the first time, ways to kind of rethink through your application. Don't quote me on that. I can try and find it. But in general, yes, for pretty much any fellowship that doesn't have like a single year of eligibility, it's usually fine for you to continue to applying. You might just want to think about when that would make sense for you. You don't want to like apply for 5 years, right? So admissions are not rolling. So they don't look at, so it's one deadline. Well, if you're a US citizen, there's one deadline, and then for everybody else there's a different deadline. Or well, there's two different deadlines. Y'all are looking at the September 21st deadline. So they wait until September 21st and then look at everyone in that pool and make their determinations to choose finalists out of that. And they pick about, so what it said, there were 154 winners last year. So they interview about 300 finalists for those positions. I believe those are the kind of numbers. But there's no benefit to applying early to this. You just want to make sure you absolutely hit the September 21st deadline. But applying on the 10th is not going to help you over the 21st. So good questions. Because this is only 3 weeks away for a deadline, if you are thinking of applying for this year, one of the major things to do as soon as possible is to request letters of recommendation, because you want to give your faculty or recommenders as much time as possible to write that letter. So happy to have those chats with you if you're trying to figure out who to ask. And then when you ask for a recommendation, you want to give them as much detail as possible about Schwarzman as a program, why you're interested in it, share information about why are you asking them to write you the letter, like what are the kinds of things that you hope they will talk about. How do they know you? Did you take a specific class with them? Do you focus on a particular experience that they know about in your leadership path? Give them some ideas of what you want them to emphasize, but don't write the letter for them. Work on drafts as soon as possible. Meet with us to have those draft reviews, and then make sure you hit submit before the deadline of the 21st of September. That was a super, super quick overview. I think my next slide is just our final. Yes, this is how to find us. So we're in Dustis Store 328. This is my email address. This is our social media. I will leave that in there. But I meant to make a little thing for you to make an appointment. So I'll come back. Well, we'll go back and forth. So that's the big picture of Schwarzman. I do really encourage you, if you think that you want to be involved with China in any way, shape, or form in the future, particularly if most of you, I think, probably are business students, and they don't have to be, I will reiterate that. So I think it's definitely worth looking into and putting yourself forward. And so we are happy to help and support those applications. So the question, what are some of the other U.S. schools that apply for it? I mean, this is open to anyone. So anyone in the world really who's between 18 and 28 with a bachelor's degree by the time is able to apply for this. So it's not U.S. school specific. So they've had scholars from all over the U.S. Last year, they said that there were about 3,000 or 3,600 applications. So, and that's worldwide. I don't know that I know the breakdown between the US versus China versus rest of the world. But we can try and find out. Maybe. I will scroll through. Good questions. Yeah, all of their classes so far, they have had scholars from 81 different countries and 294 different universities and 25 different industries. So it is very diverse, I would say. And the fact that they specifically pull, 20% of the scholars are from China, it really is about creating that synergy and network between students and scholars from all different countries. Yep. Other questions? I will say that due to COVID, last year they moved the 2020 to 2021 class virtual. I do not know if they have made a decision for this coming year. So just know that they did not cancel the program, but they did kind of retool it a bit in light of what was going on. So that is pretty much the state of the world right now, and they have been pretty forthcoming. As they make those decisions, I'll let you know. But right now, August 31st, we have no idea what the world will look like in terms of COVID by September of 2022. So they're trying not to be too hasty in deciding how they will offer the program. All right, last call for questions. David, you have a question about on the majors offered? Do you mean the degrees that are offered or the kinds of majors that they're looking for?
Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I just need you to clarify the question, sorry. They have a list on their website right now that shows what the elective classes would be. Yeah, so if you go to their website and look at their curriculum, they show what some of the options were for last year, and then that changes from year to year, but you can see the kinds of things that they have offered. So right now, the list I'm looking at for additional electives, they had clean energy transition, they had technology policy in the developing world, financial reporting and analysis, leading issues in the global economy, managing risk, political economy of developing countries, designing the future of the fourth industrial revolution, investing in private markets, social entrepreneurship, Asian regional security, environmental governance globally and in China, and key topics in green finance. So there's a lot of things. Yes, you can really tailor it both to your goals and to what they're offering that specific year. But they offer a really big range, so it is really flexible in that sense. So. And then Courtney, you asked about when the program itself would start. That is a really good question. And I should know that. And I don't off the top of my head. Let me just see if I can figure it out for you. Because they usually have like a little timeline map. And yeah, classes begin, it just says August of 2022. Yeah. Oh, and so, but that helps me because it reminds me that the two selection cycles. So one is for the U.S. and the global application, and so that's the September deadline, and then they have a May deadline for applicants who hold Chinese passports. So that's the distinction. It is U.S. and the world, and then it's China. So. And you would know they make selections in November, so you would know like by Thanksgiving if you were a scholar for next year. So you guys are asking good specific questions. I appreciate that. Anything else? I'll do another final call. Okay, go for it, David. Y'all are also welcome to unmic yourself. But, um, what kind of leadership experiences are considered stellar for an applicant? That is a tough question. Um, so I can't give you a specific list, but let's think this through, right? So if they're really focused on leadership and seeing what you will be like as a future global leader, um, so I think it's really easy for us to sort of think of leadership as only people who've held a position, right? That you've been a president of an organization or something like that. And that certainly can be an excellent leadership experience and something to list. But what's really going to matter is how you talk about what you did, right? So did you fulfill that role in terms of what the expectation was and kind of that was it? Or did you sort of advance it beyond what might have been expected? Was there some major change that you made, some improvement? So that's if you're like within a sort of established organization as a leader. Um, have you started an organization, right? Did you see a need somewhere, or want to gather students or others of the community together to address a specific need? So you know, starting an organization. It doesn't have to be something that is campus focused. It certainly can be community focused. It could be something that you did in high school and have kept up with. If it's something you did in high school and haven't kept up with, that gets harder. But longevity is not a bad thing in terms of leadership. What I would really, really suggest is that you spend some time thinking about how you define and what makes a good leader, and then think through your activities um, and see what might fit that in a way that could talk. Are you asking because you're trying to plan ahead or because you're trying to think of things that you have done that would be useful? Um, yeah, yeah. So in terms of things you've done, think about what kind of change or difference have you made? I think that's kind of what it boils down to. Um, what have you improved? What have you left better than when you found it? And how did that come to be? So, but there's not a list of it's you ask a good question, but I don't know that there's a list of like, here are these stellar examples, right? It's much more, how does it fit into the story of who you are and what kind of leader are you hoping to be? How can you show us that you've done that? And is it the kind of experiences that really fit into the story that you're trying to tell us about what you want to do in the future and why China and understanding China plays a role in that, if that makes sense. Yeah. It's a tough one, and they ask a lot of questions about leadership. So, again, this is the kind of thing where if you're interested and you plan to apply now or in the future, I would really encourage you to just make an appointment to come in. We can look at your involvement and what your options are for what you want to talk about and how you're trying to put things together. That is literally why our office exists and what we like to do. It's the most fun part of our job. So, I will make sure to send you all information about how to make an appointment with us, and we will just look forward to talking with you in person or virtually. We do virtual meetings too, but looking forward to talking to you one on one, let's say. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you all so much for coming. I really appreciate it. And as I said, we took attendance and we'll do some follow up with you so you can stay in touch. And if you do decide to apply this year, hopefully you'll let us help you. But even if you want to do it on your own, please just let me know that you're applying because we like to keep track of that too and be able to cheer you on in the process. So fingers crossed that the rain has stopped and that you all have a good rest of your Tuesday. Thanks again for coming, and we will hopefully talk to you soon.